Okay, cool. Uh, First of all, thanks for doing this on a holiday and yeah, taking the time to chat. It's always good to see your face. uh, so we'll go through a couple of questions. You can kind of, go on any tangents you feel are appropriate. That's usually where all the good stuff usually is. So don't feel like you got to stick to the questions in particular. Um, so where were you with your health and fitness before starting to work with Santo?
Yeah.
And if you could speak in third person, so you reference my name, if that's not too troublesome.
Sorry, what?
So like
You want
if
me
you're
to
responding
speak
to
in
the
third person?
no, like refer to me in third person, like when I was working with Santo.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Um, no worries. Yeah, prior to working with Santo, I'd say so. I was pretty. I had a pretty athletic background, you know, doing a lot of different sports and like pretty multi-sport athlete for a long period of time. Got into rugby more seriously in university, playing club and stuff like that. And so, I was like I was like athletically fit, push big weight in the gym, cardio was pretty good. Then had a hip surgery. That was probably like 6 years ago now, maybe seven. And after that, it all kind of just went like pretty downhill. I became super inconsistent. And I started working with Santo probably a year ago in January, so like maybe a year and 4 or 5 months.
Mhm.
And the first 6 months were probably pretty rocky from a consistency perspective, but like the last like year has been pretty amazing. Um, I'd say it's been like a full turnaround, from being probably like 215 pounds, bit of a gut, and pretty weak overall. I thought I was strong because like I could bike like 100K and stuff, but that clearly meant nothing. And now I'd say I'm probably more fit than I've ever been in my life. I'm and I think a lot of it comes down to the fact that I'm like more conscious about like food, nutrition, and just consistency. Even if I only have like 30 minutes, just like getting as much of a workout in as I can, and things like sleep and stuff like that. But yeah, so prior to being with Santo, I think I had the mindset and knew what to do and what I want to, but I just had zero motivation to actually get that done. And now I've gone like way far and above than what I thought I could have actually ever achieved. Uh, I think I got abs coming in, like, which is weird. I've never seen that before. That's new. So I think that's sort of where I'm at. Yeah.
So you had mentioned in the last 6 months that things have really taken a turn in a positive direction. What do you think caused that change in the last 6 months?
Yeah. I think, Santo and I have had like a lot more meaningful conversations around where, like, why, I'm working out. And I think that's an important one too, is that with this training and working with Santo, it's not as transactional as like the normal ones feel, as like normal like other personal training I've done in the past feels, because Santo kind of gets in your head a little bit, like wants to be like, in a good way though, it's not a bad way, kind of like in a friend but also like in a professional manner. And I think that's really helped because when I first started with him, I didn't know really what I wanted to get out of this. And then I think I finally got to the point where I just want to see how far and how hard I can push myself to getting, a better physique, stronger, and just like generally being healthier. And in the last 6 months, it's really just come down to, I don't know, it's certain questions that Santa's asked, and those questions have really like sparked a lot of inspiration. And these conversations have just helped get me out of that rut to stay super consistent. And yeah, I don't think there was like a pivotal moment, I think, at one point too, where I think I woke up one day and just said, all right, I'm gonna only drink once a week. And I made some like key paths about that. And that was probably triggered from some conversations because like Santa drinks like maybe a beer a year, like um and the you can tell how that's improved on his accord. And I think that probably was a more pivotal one. I haven't been super consistent with that, but I'm relatively consistent with it. I think that's what's really helped. Um, yeah, he's a good role model.
Thanks, man. Appreciate that. Um, why did you seek to work with someone initially when we first started training?
Yeah, I need the consistency, and having Santo, looking for a trainer was like number one priority. I've always had that when I was in playing rugby university. I had a trainer for like 4 months, 4 years or something like that, with assigned to the team, but it was someone that was there to build the schedule, push it. I'm too busy, or I lack the desire to actually like build a plan that's structured and makes sense. And I think that's a big problem. Is you can go online and do a classic, some like strength 5x5, and it has like deadlifts and shit and push-ups and whatever in it. But or you can go with somebody that actually understands like your medical history and your past and can adapt things based on how you're doing day to day. And I think that's more valuable for me. I also just need someone who can be a friend but can like yell at me to actually get on top of my stuff. That's why Santa has access to my close friends, so he knows what I'm up to, and can be mad. But
That's funny.
it's that's up that yeah. How you stay consistent, right? They need
That's
to know
funny
everything.
for sure. Um, tell me what you love most about the program. What like sticks out to you, other than inchworms, obviously.
I don't mind inchworms anymore, actually. They're not fun, but I don't mind them. um, I, honestly, I really respect that it's not a grind every single day, and there's like a nice balance of cardio to fitness to stretching and all that. Yeah, I'm trying to work out like roughly 5 times a week. It's hit or miss just because consistency, but it's not like how I used to work out, which would be 5 sets of just pushing metal. That's it. That was it. You know what I mean? And during rugby days, that's all we did. And it was just so exhausting. Now I'm getting like a lot of everything in. And I think that's probably the best part. And sometimes it's more chill. Sometimes the workouts are just kind of have some like recovery mechanisms in it, or are lighter on the weights. And honestly, it's nice to just have like a large variety of stuff that I would have never been able to come up with on my own. So yeah.
Tell me how that's tied into the success you've had, where you're mentioning, I'm starting to see my abs now, that kind of stuff. Like, how does that translate to success for you in regards to getting you towards what your goals are?
Yeah. Progress is slow, and you need to remember that. And I think a lot of people don't. A lot of people think, if you go on these aggressive diets and all this stuff, you'll get like instant results. And you might get some like crazy stuff, but you won't get like that. You won't get the longevity out of those results. And I think that's like the key one. And so, like a year later, because I'd say the first 6 months, as I said, was kind of rocky. A year later, like doing these workouts and working out and, having Santo train me, it's ever so noticeable. I, for instance, haven't been to Greece in like about 8 months. And when I got here, everyone was like, oh my God, dude, what happened? Like, you're bigger, you look like muscular bigger, you look stronger, but you don't look like how you used to back in the day, which was, 230 pounds of just meat running around on the beach. I'm probably weighing in at like 205, maybe a little under that right now. And I think that's like the biggest translation is like people actually notice it. And I don't look like I'm on like trend. So that's sick.
We like that. Yeah, the natural look's a good look, buddy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, in
I mean, I
regards
think
to
also, I mean, the other big thing though is honestly, I've gone to the point now with training and stuff that like I can eat whatever the hell I want, and I love that. I know what's like moderate, obviously, but like, throw me like a dish of cake, and I know I can chow that thing down. I just got to work for it elsewhere. So I don't know. I think that's also the other good part.
I was thinking about this too. I had a pretty rough weekend, nutrition wise, but at the same time, you know, thinking to myself, okay, I know where I'm picking my spots to have these calories because I know that if I'm straight 80% of the week, I can be a bit more lax on the weekend and go to a birthday party and have a piece of cake or go to a friend's house and have some chips and not be miserable about the fact that I can't have things outside of, the mundane things that you have in a regular diet. And even so, like you come to learn to enjoy those things and they don't necessarily become mundane. Like you find ways to enjoy them or you find variety in the things that are good for you too. And I think what you had mentioned earlier about just being more conscious around nutrition is super helpful in regards to just making it be sustainable in a way where it's not pure misery to go through it. And that's how you have the longer lasting results over an extended period of time because it's something where it becomes a lifestyle, less of like a I have to and more of a I want to, I can.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean that's the biggest one. That's probably the biggest change in perspective on nutrition I had, which was that I always used to look at it day to day. And, Santo, again, yelling at me because I'd complain about what I had been eating was like, hey, who cares? You had a bunch of popcorn and some candy bars last night. You ate like really good all week, and it's the same thing with training, right? It's like you have 1 week. I'll have a week where I'm traveling for work and don't work out at all, or I might like do a little bit, or I'm just walking. But if you like stretch that out onto like a 2 month horizon, I still made huge progress. It's like all of March, I like barely worked out in the middle of it, and I still got stronger, leaner, and felt better about myself going into April. So yeah, it's the day to day stuff you just got to like completely ignore and just kind of look positively.
Definitely, man. Kind of zoom out at times and look at what the bigger picture is overall. It's definitely easy to get stuck in that too, where it's like, okay, Monday, Tuesday, on Wednesday, you're thinking Monday, Tuesday, I didn't work out, so I should get a workout in on Wednesday, but I don't have the time to. And then you get into this cycle or spiral of feeling bad about it. It's like, okay, look, maybe all I can do is get the steps in that I want to get in a day or be standing more frequently. And that's okay too. It's about commending the effort and not so much the outcome of the effort on a week to week basis. And then trying to plan ahead for yourself and thinking, okay, maybe this week's not my week, or maybe this week's a lot more challenging than I expected it to be. But I know the following week I can double back and get things going, just be easier on it's easy to be hard on yourself with this stuff too, man. And I think we can all be our own worst critics and have high expectations of ourselves sometimes to a detriment or in a way where it puts us into, like I mentioned, like one of those spirals where we start feeling bad about not doing the things we quote unquote should be doing. And like that word should is a fucking curse where it ends up putting you in a headspace of feeling guilty of the things that you want to do or the things that you
Mm-hmm.
can do. And then you start getting into these spirals of like, fuck, So I think, yeah, knowing that there's more days ahead is definitely the perspective to take and being like, okay, I can change this. Right. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, in regards to prior to us working together, what were your pain points for yourself that made you say, okay, I should start to get to work with somebody or I should find a trainer?
Honestly, my biggest pain point was just lack of progress after when did we start? I don't know, 4 years post op, maybe 5 years post op. I can't remember. It's been so long ago. It was a very cursed year. Um, and it's just like no progress, lack of commitment, and just needing that person to just like be in my ear about everything was what I was lacking. honestly. And, during COVID, I had tried, I didn't have a gym. That was also part of it. I was like starting to get to like getting really itchy about that. And I tried to make my own home gym and it was just sucked. And I knew that, if I just knew I couldn't program myself properly. I tried all those like apps, that give you little home workouts and stuff. And I can't, like, home workouts, like body weight stuff, just that is, there's one thing I still can't do 2 years
I
later,
know.
a year and a half later with Santa is a body weight workout. Like it's just not, I don't know. Yeah, no. I mean, it's that day-to-day incremental progress. And I'm like, I'm getting nothing out of this. Um, even though that's a plain lie. And I think that's it. It was just the consistency, having someone to track my progress and keep me like accountable, and also just keep me in check that, there is progress happening. And yeah, yeah,
Cool.
I think
Uh,
that's it.
um, if someone was on the fence about joining with me online, what would you tell them?
So tough. That's so multifaceted. But like, I mean, I think I think the way to look at it you know, is to assess why you're on the fence. If it's about the results you're going to get, or if it's about, the consistency, are you going to be able to get into the gym? I think the way you have, I think this is the right fit for you, and it would make a ton of sense. If you take it from the perspective of, look, you're going to get somebody who's going to be your friend, who's going to be on your ass all the time to make sure that you're actually staying accountable as long as you want it. And I think that's the key one, is that, Santa's not the type of person to say, okay, cool, yeah, I'll program you week to week, even though you're not doing it, you're not making progress. He's gonna like have that hard conversation with you and tell you that you need to pick it up. And honestly, like I wouldn't even put it past him to kind of stop working with someone just because like they don't want to be doing the workouts, because it's a waste of his time just as well as yours. He's committed to making sure you reach your goal and you get your goal. And I think as long as you're committed to doing that too, he's going to make sure that you get there as fast as possible. And honestly, like I think that's the biggest one, right? Is that, and you're going to get somebody who's like going to be an awesome friend to just like jam with and stuff like that, and just cares about you. Whereas, a lot of trainers will probably just be happy to take that check every week and kind of say, hey, how you doing, and move on with their lives. I think that's probably the biggest thing you'll get out of it.
Appreciate that, man. Thank you. Yeah, I'm very fortunate in having and had many really good coaches in my life, and all at some point or another, have had these very deep and meaningful conversations that go much further than just a workout or a training session, that make you reflect on things and, provoke thought, and, make you question your why or what it is you want to do. And I think having like a coach is a lighthouse in a storm, right? The storm of life. Like, okay, right now the waters are calm, it's easy to see the lighthouse, but then when shit gets wild, and there's rain coming down at an unbelievable rate, you can still see the lighthouse, and they're making sure that you can see the lighthouse and saying like, okay, keep coming in this direction, man. Or if you don't want to go in this direction, then that's the direction you need to go to, right? And making sure you have sight on where it is you want to go and what you want to do, versus just,
Mm-hmm.
kind of spinning your tires and not getting anywhere fast. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. And but like, yeah, I think the biggest one though, and it really comes down to this, is that you will get quality out of it, and you're gonna get. But like, and the reason I say is because like you'll get dropped. I think Santa like joked with me about it once, but I think I like didn't work out for like an entire month, and he's like, "Do you still want to do this training? Like, we can just like stop." And it was over the summer. I think I was just partying too much, and it was like the first year, and I was like, "Shit." this guy's kind of serious.
Well, yeah, man.
But and it helps, right?
I was joking as much as not joking and being like, all right, hey Greg, notice that, haven't seen you. Well, what's going on? Yeah. That's the thing, man. I feel like, it's similar to like the notion of being in a class or like in a university seat. You're taking someone else's chance that wants it but can't afford it, or didn't get accepted into the program. Where it's like,
Yeah.
okay, if this is not for you right now, that's okay too. And it's no hard feelings. But let me work with somebody who wants it, right? So I can only
Mhm.
show up as much as the person I'm working with is showing up to. So, and yeah, and I feel like I remember that conversation. And I remember it was just before we were talking about one of your friends on Instagram that was following my page. And you had told her, you don't work with him if you're not serious because he'll drop you.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it
That's
was funny.
funny.
Yeah. Um, yeah, that's all the questions from my end. I'm gonna stop this call unless you have anything else to say, or just stop the recording. You can still stay on the call.
No, I'm chilling. That's good.
Cool. Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
No worries, dude.